Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're tackling a question that's got people everywhere talking, can any white business survive the AI revolution?
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it? I think it's less about businesses going extinct and more about like how they're gonna adapt to this whole new ball game. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And to help us unpack all of this, we've got some really interesting insights from Alessandro Perilli's Synthetic Work newsletter issue, #57.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
He's rounded up how companies like Axios, the BBC, even JPMorgan Chase are all dealing with AI's, potential to shake things up.
Yeah, these are companies that are used to being the disruptors, not the other way around.
Right. So their strategies could be very telling. So let's dive right in. First up, we've got Axios, the media company. They're basically saying, look, AI is going to wipe out the weak in their industry and their big survival play. Doubling down on journalistic expertise, building trust with their audience, and get this going all in on in-person events.
Interesting. Especially that last one. I mean, the media landscape has been, a bit of a roller coaster for a while now, haven't they?
Totally.
Yeah.
And the newsletter even mentions that, like, newspaper circulation has been declining for decades now.
Right.
So is Axios just out of touch? I mean, what makes them think this time it'll work when it hasn't before, even without AI breathing down their necks?
It seems like they're banking on this idea of more of the same but exclusive kind of thing, particularly with those premium newsletters they've got.
Uh,
The real question is, will people actually pay a premium for human insights when AI is already out there, churning out similar analysis at a fraction of the cost and speed? It's a gamble for sure.
it's like trying to sell, those fancy artisanal loaves of bread when everyone's discovered the ease of just grabbing a pre-sliced bag from the supermarket.
Exactly. Now, the BBC is taking a different approach. They're sitting on a gold mine of data, right? Decades of content, and they're looking to use that to train AI models.
So are they saying if you can't beat them, join them?
Sort of. They're talking about licensing their data to tech companies, basically turning their archives into a way to make money. And, on the surface, it's a smart move, right? A company playing to its strength, but
Oh, there's always a but, isn't there? What's the catch this time?
sustainability. AI has an insatiable appetite for data. What happens when the BBC's archives, as big as they are no longer enough to satisfy it?
So they're selling the family silver, hoping they won't need it later.
Yeah, and hoping that AI doesn't figure out a way to create even bigger, better synthetic data sets that make their real-world archives, irrelevant. It's a risky move. Speaking of risky moves, let's talk about JPMorgan Chase. Their CEO, Jamie Dimon. He's known for making bold moves, and he's shaking things up in response to AI. He's created a brand new executive position, a chief data and analytics officer reporting directly to him.
Wow, reporting directly to Diamond. That's a pretty clear sign that he's taking this seriously. But is it enough?
It's good to see a leader like him recognizing the need for change and acting quickly.
Here
However,
we go again, another however. Don't hold back. What's the concern?
my concern is that restructuring alone, without actually addressing the deeper organizational issues, might not be enough. The newsletter talks about the problem of data silos within big companies. Even with a chief data officer, if different teams within JP Morgan aren't sharing information, effectively, they're not going to be maximizing their AI potential.
So it's like having all the ingredients for a gourmet meal, but they're scattered across different kitchens and no one wants to share their secret spices.
That's it, exactly. One solution could be what's called the Bezos API mandate. Amazon did this years ago, requiring their teams to make their data and functions accessible to others within the company through specific interfaces.
No more hoarding data, like it's some precious commodity. It makes sense, but that sounds like a huge GE cultural shift for a company like JP Morgan.
It would be radical, but it could be a game changer. But hey, let's switch gears for a second. We've been talking about theoretical strategies, but how are organizations actually using AI in the real world?
Yeah, let's get out of the hypothetical and see what's really going on. All right, so let's talk more action. What's the word on the street? How are organizations actually using AI out there in the wild?
Well, the newsletter highlights some pretty fascinating use cases. For starters, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, they're piloting AI for a whole range of stuff like tackling drug and human trafficking, even training immigration
And
officials.
it's like training officials with AI. How does that even work?
They're using these AI-powered chatbots to like simulate real-life scenarios,
Yeah.
interactions and stuff. It gives officials a chance to practice and get experience in a safe environment before they're dealing with real-world pressure.
So like flight simulators, but for border control.
Mm.
That's actually pretty clever when you think about it.
Hmm.
But AI for training is one thing. What about actual operations? Like, how's the DHS using AI out in the field?
That's where it gets really interesting. They're using AI to analyze these massive data sets, looking for patterns and trends that could help with things like disaster preparedness. We're talking about going through mountains of information stuff that would take humans forever. AI can make sense of it all much faster and potentially with more accuracy.
It's like instead of just, Googling for answers, they're building their own AI systems to dig through their data and find those hidden gems.
Exactly. And this is something we're going to see a lot more of, I think. Organizations are realizing they're sitting on these gold mines of data, and AI is the key to unlocking all these valuable insights that would be impossible to find manually.
Okay, fascinating stuff. Now let's switch gears over to education because the newsletter gives us a bit of a mixed bag here. On one hand, you've got the Texas Education Agency using AI to grade standardized tests. And on the other hand, there's Trinity College Dublin using it to uncover the hidden lives of women in history. Those feel like wildly different applications of this technology, wouldn't you have?
They really are. The Texas example, it really shows how we need to think carefully about how we implement AI. AI grading it can be more efficient and even more objective in some cases, but you have to acknowledge the potential for bias.
Especially with subjective subjects like writing right.
Mhm.
How do you program a machine to assess creativity and critical thinking the same way a human would?
It's a huge challenge. And we can't forget about the impact on students. The newsletter mentioned there's a fee for students who want to challenge their AI-assigned grades. What about the students who can't afford that?
No.
It raises concerns about fairness and equal access to education.
It's almost like we're creating a system where AI, even with the best intentions, could end up widening the gap between those who have resources and those who don't.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot to think about.
It really is. And these are conversations we need to be having as AI becomes more integrated into education.
For sure. Okay, so one example that's got us thinking about the potential downsides. But then you've got the Trinity College project, which sounds incredible. Tell me more. What are they actually doing?
So Trinity College is using AI to dig into historical documents, specifically trying to piece together the lives of women who were often left out of the history books.
I get the goal, but how do you even begin to do that with AI? We're talking about people who were deliberately excluded from records in many cases.
It's about connecting the dots no matter how faint those dots might be. AI can analyze huge amounts of data, legal documents, wills, land records, looking for anything that mentions these women. Then it pieces those fragments together like a jigsaw puzzle to create a more complete picture of their lives.
So AI is basically giving a voice to those who were silenced by history. That's powerful stuff.
Exactly. And it shows a crucial aspect of AI's potential, its ability to help us see the world and even our past from totally new and often unexpected perspectives. But it's not just about uncovering hidden histories. AI is changing how we approach problems right now, too.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example. Where else are we seeing AI make a real difference today? So we've gone from, those theoretical survival strategies to AI actually shaking things up in security and education. What's the common thread here? What does it all mean for, businesses, institutions, for all of us, really?
I think the big takeaway is this: just doing more of the same but better, it's not going to cut it. Remember Axios with their whole trust us, we're the experts approach? It's like they haven't noticed that the information landscape is already a free-for-all.
Right, like trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube once it's already out.
Exactly.
But then you've got JPMorgan Diamond creating a whole new executive role just to deal with AI. That's a different level of commitment, right? It's almost like they're restructuring their DNA to adapt.
It really is. It's recognizing that AI isn't just another tool in the toolbox, It's changing the foundation of how these organizations work, how they get information, make decisions, even what kind of people they need to hire.
And it's not just adapting to the tech itself, but to the ripple effects it creates. Like the Texas Education Agency using AI to grade standardized tests. That's not just about efficiency, it's about fairness access, potentially even changing what education looks like in the future.
It brings up so many questions about, responsibility, oversight. When a machine has that much power over a student's future who's accountable when things go wrong, it's uncharted territory, and it's happening right now.
It's a lot to process. So if we try to connect all these dots, what's the message for someone listening trying to wrap their head around all of this?
I think it's this: AI is making us rethink everything. It's not just about automating tasks. It's about redefining what it means to be valuable in this new world. The skills that got us to this point might not be the ones that take us into the future.
So you're saying we should all learn to code or start building our own AI algorithms in our spare time?
Not necessarily, but being willing to learn to adapt, to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Those are going to be essential for anyone in any field who wants to not just survive, but really thrive in the age of AI.
Okay, so a healthy dose of humility and a thirst for learning. I like it. What else? What's one thing our listeners can take away from all these strategies, all these real-world examples?
Don't just read about AI, engage with it. Ask questions, experiment. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. The more we understand this technology, its potential and its pitfalls, the better we'll be at shaping its future in a way that benefits everyone.
That's a great point to end on. Don't just be a spectator in this revolution. Be an active participant.
Mm.
This has been a really thought-provoking deep dive, to say the least. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep those AI questions coming.